in some ways, I think across the board, everyone would say, well, Noah Hanifin's the better defenseman. Thus, this should be an easier deal to make and should bring in more assets. We've just been told that this is maybe a harder deal to get done. There's fewer teams because the salary is higher and there's fewer teams involved. And you hear about, well, they don't have a first round pick, which would have to, you would think would kind of be a non-starter if you don't. I know Chris Johnson, one of your colleagues, was saying this is maybe a hard deal. And I've been told that maybe just don't be expecting home runs on both deals, Tanev and certainly with Hanifin.
I think that's fair. I do. And you know what's tricky about Noah Hanifin, aside from the fact that he's playing terrific hockey right now, right? I mean, the team is playing well too. So that helps. Is that, if you're the Dallas Stars, you're probably looking at Chris Tanev and you're less looking at him as a rental, even though he might end up being a rental. Let's see how things play out. But there's an affordability there. When you're acquiring Noah Hanifin, unless the structure of the trade includes a sign, it's cost prohibitive, even though you're getting a hell of a hockey player here. The teams that are going to look at Noah Hanifin, and the two teams in the East that everybody keeps talking about are the Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I could make sense of both. Tampa Bay for sure. Julien Brisebois has a history of adding these key pieces just before the trade deadline, and he knows that the window is closing to win another Stanley Cup. And I'm not sure, maybe it's already closed, but hey, they've got enough experience and talent there when the playoffs roll around. Who knows? Boston, I think, is a bit more gun shy because of what Don Sweeney did leading up to the deadline last year. And then they got dispatched early. So he's sitting there going, geez, you got to be careful when you're cleaning out your prospect closet and your draft capital is being used. You can't do that every single year, even though the Boston Bruins have had a really good run. But I think why then we also have to be okay with the fact that maybe you don't hit that home run boomer, like you say. It's because Noah Hanifin has earned a hell of a paycheck. Yeah. He 100% has. Yeah. And if you don't like, a $65 million contract extension or a contract, now it'll be different unless he's, it could, in theory, be an 8-year deal. Let's see how it all plays out. But that's cost prohibitive for a lot of teams that like the idea of Noah Hanifin, don't like the idea knowing that their ask is premium assets, and they don't think that he'll be more than a rental piece.
So let's explore Tampa a little bit. They don't have the first until 2026, which I think sounds like a bad thing, but Tampa might not be that good in 2026. They also have Stamkos as a UFA. Like, if you're Craig Conroy, are you actually sneakily wanting that pick 3 years down the road? Because it might be a high pick. Maybe that's when Tampa resets.
Well, possibly. And look, here's the other thing. I'm not a draft guru, so I can't tell you what the class of 26 looks like at this stage. But I can tell you that the class of 24 isn't as good or as deep as 25 is expected to be. So if your amateur scouts are telling you, okay, well, here are the kids that we're looking at now projecting for 26, and we like the look of that class, why wouldn't you consider that? Why wouldn't you? If you know that the 24 class isn't as deep, there's not necessarily a rush. But then I say that and I'm thinking, okay, well, what's Calgary doing here? Are we transitioning on the fly? Or are we taking a bigger bite out of this? And there's more of a foundational change and overhaul, if you will. And I don't have the answer to that. I can see how that is needed, in the not too distant future, but it's hard to do when, you've got the bigger contracts in Huberdeau and Calgary. Calgary, I'm sure he could get moved if he wants to be moved in the off season. The Markstrom stuff, that's going to continue to float on until we get past the trade deadline, and then it'll pick up again in the offseason. But I think organizationally, that's what Conroy has to look at, and that's what that group has to look at. And if they feel like that's the best approach, then maybe that first-round draft pick isn't as big of a deal depending on that year.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long-form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.